2, 1, reload. One. Too loud?
Too loud?
Yes, yes, yes. Once again, we are back. This is the social experience. I am one half of the social experience. My name is LYNX on the move, or just LYNX. And
I'm your girl, MELL.
yes, and we got a special show this afternoon. We have two special guests. One that you can plainly see if you're watching us on the YouTube channel. This is Dr. Elmore Alexander. My pleasure to have him here. Or Dino.
You go with Dino if you like.
All his friends. I'm his friend. So I
That's
can,
right.
this is Dino. We're going to get into some things about Mr. Alexander. We also have another special guest here, which is Demeter Bishop. She's going to get into some things that definitely everybody needs to hear, especially the people that watch the social experience and keep up with the social experience. This is where we cut through the red tape
And get straight to the experience.
Let's go. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. You guys have a nice setup. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Worked very hard at it. I had my own personal stylist come in here and do the feng shui thing. So yeah.
We need that. Keep everybody just, under control.
Yeah.
do us a little favor, if you will, and just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can go right into everything else.
Well, my name is Elmore Alexander. My close friends call me Dino. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, but I came down to Atlanta to actually be a part of the HBCU experience.
Nice.
And so I got my undergrad education at Clark, and then I went to Atlanta University, did some graduate work, went away to medical school in Iowa, and then I came back and actually did my residency at Morehouse.
Nice.
So I'm a product of the AU Center, and I love Atlanta.
Nice, man. Again, pleasure to have you here. My thing is this right away. I love Black people jumping into the Black experience, and you sound like you started it at a young age.
Actually, I grew up in the inner city in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it came time for high school, I had a high school that was 1 block away from me. It's called East High School. But that school was almost on shutdown then. This was back in the 70s.
Okay.
You couldn't take books out of the school unless you got permission. And so my parents made the sacrifice to get me into a private school. We had some scholarship money. We couldn't afford to really pay the tuition out there. And we went, I was only 7 Blacks in the school, but it was quite a commute to get there. And that experience, it made the 7 Blacks in the school very close, but we also realized what racism was really about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we're not our community. Yeah.
I grew up in Queens, New York. I didn't myself experience or witness any racism, but my sisters are 10 and 9 years older than me, and they have a totally different experience, and they were raised in the same areas. Well, originally Brooklyn, but then when they came to Queens is when it went left for them. You know what I mean? That's when they started opening their eyes to the thoughts became come to fruition as far as racism. So when I hear their tales of what they experienced, I'm like, it's huge difference in the 10-year, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it only gives me hope, because 10 more years that maybe it diminishes even more. But then we move to the South, and then you see all these different situations, which is saddening. But yeah, it gets me a little, you know what I mean? Black people to me is everything, you know what I mean? Black is beauty, Black is everything comes from Black, and it's just sad to say that people on the other side of that don't see it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of disheartening in that way. But
But Link, let me say something. As bad as our high school experience was, and I still am in contact with the brothers that were at the school I was at, things got worse as my education moved even further. Into medical school, it was only 2 of us. And they tried to do everything they could to get us out of there. And I'm talking about the students. Now, these are people who were potential physicians,
right.
Okay, who are doing things that are just horrific. And then I get out and I do my first year of my internship, and I'm the only Black in that program. And now I'm dealing with a host of, we call them attending physicians. Not all of them, because there was quite a few that helped me out. There was a number of them that were vicious. They were vicious. But that high school experience prepared me for each level that I was going to go through.
Nice.
And then now that I made it, I can look back and say, okay, what difference can I make as an educator, as a provider, as a doctor, and even as a father, and now as a community advocate, and then what do I look for? Because see, if you don't start to look for the right things, you're gonna miss it.
That's correct.
And you're gonna get confused by all of the smoke screens that are coming at you, because the racism now is starting to come out, but it's much more subliminal.
Than
it was before. Even in the South, the South was known for really just getting in your face.
Right.
That's not the case anymore, because see, Atlanta is a melting pot of people from all over.
Yes.
Now more than ever.
Yeah. So they're not in your face like they used to be.
Right.
They're taking you out.
Yeah. They don't have the numbers anymore. Yeah. So I understand what you're saying. And I got to quote Nappy here. He said it the other day. Racism still exists, but I prefer when it's in my face, because now I know where you're at, and I know how to treat you, and I know how not to treat you. You understand? So, so kudos for you.
I was real quick. I was saying that about Texas, because I told them in Texas they'll tell you that they don't like you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I respect that, because I can tell them I don't like you neither.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. No.
Oh no, I was just listening. And then you know how to place them and how to deal with them.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
So, as you was going through your becoming of you, because I believe that when you're coming out of high school, going into college, you now finding out who you are. In my opinion, I'm not saying that's what you went through, but what kept you so dexterous? Like,
I was a late bloomer.
yeah,
And
nothing wrong with it. You turned out well.
it took a lot of work.
Yeah.
And actually, I got to give all praise to my HBCU, Clark, Atlanta University. It was Clark College then, because without them, I would not have had the opportunity to make some corrections that I had, because I had gone in a different direction. But once I made that change and decided that I needed something more out of life than what was being offered me, then they were there to embrace me. And that's what we got to get back to our communities.
Right.
Okay. We have to get back to a nurturing society. Right now, they have caused so much chaos within our communities that we're so confused that we don't know who to embrace. They're trying to close all these schools in DeKalb County.
Yeah.
And
Here we go.
we're asking the wrong questions, though, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
They're looking at raw numbers and they're moving these numbers around, but nobody's looking at why those numbers got there the way they are, and if those numbers are even accurate.
Exactly. I was going to say that.
One of the things that I saw, I went to a meeting a couple of days ago. And one of the things I saw, just looking at the numbers, they were talking about closing schools based on kids not being in the classroom. And when I looked at it, I said, well, what's the absenteeism rate?
Is it that, or is it they're not getting enough admission? Like nobody's trying to enroll their kids in those schools in those areas.
This may be true.
Okay.
And it may be that people are moving out of the neighborhood. Okay. But the first thing I want to look at is, what's the absenteeism rate? Because they're being included in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, how many people know that the absenteeism rate for students since COVID is 25 to 30%,
That's
meaning that the kids have missed more than 10% of the school year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
Okay, so that means the kids are there, they're just not going to school.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so how is that being factored into closing these schools down? Because once you close the schools down, if the kids are really there and then we get them back into the schools are overcrowded.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
So there's a lot of reasons why things are happening.
Mhm.
And that's when I get to this whole concept of root cause.
Yes.
Mhm.
What is the real cause? You know, one of the parents was saying that a lot of the parents were taking their kids who were athletes
Mhm.
out of the DeKalb County area.
I actually did that.
Did
I
you?
actually did that. Yep.
What was your reason?
Well, I had subtle indifferences with my son's coach.
Okay.
I didn't believe he was giving him enough of what he needed on the court. So there was I had a friend that lived in Gwinnett County,
Mhm.
and yeah, I sent him there.
Okay.
Yeah, and he did what he needed to do over there, and he shined. But the other school had his son, and the coach had his son on the team, so he had preferential treatment, obviously, and it kind of hindered my son, and I didn't want his confidence to be broken because he was definitely a better player. And I'm not just saying that from a parent standpoint. Everybody used to say that. You know what I mean? Why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? Yeah. So
That was nepotism there.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
that's a little different than. I mean, we still have to address those kinds of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Preferential treatment and that kind of stuff. That happens with athletes. I was an athlete.
Right.
But what about not having the proper facilities?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
Yes.
So, like for football, I'm finding out that like Lithonia High School,
Mhm.
that the coaches, from what I'm hearing, okay, I'm just hearsay,
Right.
that they're very good. But when the time is not going backwards, okay, when it's set forward, and now we're ending school, it's getting dark at like 5:30. They don't have the lights to keep the kids on the field.
Okay.
But the same monies that's supposed to be coming to the county over here, you go to North DeKalb, they got lights.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they're practicing.
Looks like an NFL.
You're right.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
I have a question about, because
Yeah.
I live in Cobb.
Yes.
What is that, DeKalb County?
That's
Is
DeKalb and
DeKalb
Gwinnett,
County's money for the county, or does the money just go to specific schools? Because Cobb County, so we have Cobb County, but then within Cobb County, we have Marietta City Schools. So Marietta City Schools is a different entity than Cobb County Schools. So anything for the county is every school in that county, but anything for Marietta City School is only Marietta City Schools. So is it the same in DeKalb County, or?
I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is. And so it's also about allocation, right?
Yeah. That's what I was
And
thinking too.
so these are the things that we have to look at. How is the money being allocated,
Mhm.
and based on what numbers? So this is what we have to look at, because we want to make sure that there's equal treatment,
Correct.
and that the formula is including everybody, not just part of it.
Yes.
So I remember back in 2021, I had a friend that was running for Atlanta City Council. So I went to her little meet and greet that she had, and there was a woman there mad because a kid from another school district parents were sneaking into the school district, and she was wanting to have them arrested for bringing their kids into that school district. And so I didn't know much about politics yet, but I asked her, I said, so is this kid an athlete, or you just mad because someone is sneaking their kid in? And then she said, well, it's Atlanta Public Schools, but over here in Inman, I think is what was the school district. We pay good taxes over here. We don't want, if you want to live over here and get this education, then you need to pay the taxes over here. If not, then you take your kids over there. And I mean, I don't know much about Atlanta City Schools, but I know Atlanta City Schools is not good.
Yeah.
So that's where my mind started when I was listening to you talk. But why is Atlanta City Schools not good? What's going on within the city that these rich schools, they make sure their taxes go to give these kids this education. But when you get to the minority, predominantly Black schools or lower income schools, they're not getting the education. So I'm sorry. That's where, as you were talking, that just popped into my mind.
It's all about politics and money.
Right.
It is. And then also, you know, I wanted to say this because of the crime and the violence that is happening in the communities, there's a large, alarming a percentage of children that are doing homeschool. They do school from home. And so that's another thing that
Variable
is a very big problem as well that should be addressed because a lot of parents don't understand these kids that are out here causing the crimes are those particular kids whose mothers and fathers have good jobs, two-parent households, but because they have them homeschooled because they're afraid of the crime they're out committing the crime.
You think about what happened in Midtown 2 years ago when those kids in Midtown come to find out they were two-parent homes.
Yes.
Mama was a nurse, daddy had his own business. And it's like, I would expect my child who lives in a single-parent home to be out there doing that before these kids that got mama and daddy in the home.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yes.
Now, that's interesting. Yeah, this is all right. So this is a bone of contention for me. All right. And it's real easy for us to sit back and say the crime is because of the children, right? But what are the conditions that we put them in? So Lithonia High School right now is overcrowded. All right, now think about if you just take, and I don't want people to get too deep into what I'm saying. This is just a comparison. But if you have a small cage and you put 5 mice in there and they have enough room to spread around and find their space, they won't be too violent towards each other. But if you close that space in, you put 10 mice in there, you put 20 mice in there, you make it overcrowded, now you have those crabs in a barrel. And they are going to fight. Now, think about this. If I know the school's already overcrowded and there's a lot of tension inside them, what's my mentality when I get to the front door? Or even when I wake up in the morning, getting ready to go to school? I'm already
preparing for war,
strapping up mentally.
Absolutely.
You're preparing for war.
Absolutely.
So the situation may not be that we're dealing with bad kids. We're dealing with kids that are trying to survive. So then if that's the root cause, then what's the solution?
But I don't totally agree with that. I'm gonna show you why. I actually went to Lithonia High School, right? And this is in the 90s, obviously. And when it was bad then, and I believe it's because of the conditions outside of the school. Some of the people that was in the school didn't even go to the school. You understand what I'm saying? But they had this mentality of, this is my neighborhood, and if I want to go there, I want to go there. And when they went there, they caused trouble. So I'm saying it's more environmental than just the fact of overcrowding. They had great teachers. I had great teachers there. You know what I mean? But I ended up getting kicked out of the school because I was fighting every day. So at that time, they had what was called an M-to-M program, minority to majority. So I got bused to a whiter school, and that was in Tucker. You understand? So when I was in Lithonia, I was known as, oh, that's the New York boy. But then when I got kicked out of there and bused to Tucker, now I'm the Lithonia boy. So now I'm even considered even more trouble because they are familiar with what Lithonia does. You understand what I'm saying? So it's more, I think it's more about the environment, the living situations over there. Whether people know it or not yet, they have, mid-level homes, the expensive homes in Lithonia, they have all that. But they also have that other side. And that's closer to the school. You understand what I'm saying? So you'll see a lot of them, like, they destitute almost. You know what I mean? But that's their neighborhood. They're proud of that, where they come from. And unfortunately, they're mad.
And let's not forget too, environmental, economical stuff like the rise and everything now. And you have parents that have to be away from the home because they're working long hours or 2-3 jobs just to keep up with the rising costs. So when you don't have mommy in the home and these children are by themselves, that's how another thing that's causing all of these issues.
Yes.
So it, like you said, when you say get to the root cause, there's so many root causes factored into this that we need to take into consideration to make.
I agree.
That is correct.
I
That
agree.
is correct.
I agree.
Yes.
Not to say that your point wasn't a valid one. I'm just saying that that's not the root cause issue. Not in my opinion. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because before it was
It's deeper.
overcrowded,
Yeah.
it was definitely a problem there anyway. You know what I mean? So
But then also the problem could have been too. So we talk about these other neighborhoods, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so DeKalb County, is it known for having some of the better jobs, or having jobs that are close for people who live there to be able to earn a living? No, they have to go out of that community.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so again, a part of the whole systemic problem is that DeKalb is not thriving as well as it should
Absolutely.
because we're not doing the things to make it thrive. See,
Yes.
you have those companies out there in Sandy Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you have more money
To pay.
to pay these things. So
Mhm.
yeah, there are multiple factors,
Yeah.
but if we don't start getting down at that low level and we keep thinking about the kids are bad, then your solutions are going to be let's treat the symptom.
Mhm.
So what's the symptom? Let's build another prison.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay,
There we go.
let's build another.
Yes.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
that is not what we want to do. We don't want to treat
Exactly.
the symptom.
I like that. I like that.
We got to get a little deeper into this thing and say,
Yeah.
okay, how do
Yes.
we get the whole county better?
Yeah.
And see, as a physician, that's how I think. If you walk into my office, I'm always thinking, first, I got to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Second, I got to diagnose. And then I got to come up with a plan.
Right.
But a lot of people in medicine today, they listen partly, and then they come up with a plan.
Mhm.
They didn't diagnose anything.
Right.
Come on.
And we're going
Let's
to take a
talk
break
about it.
right there. I want to thank everybody that's checking in through the chat. We're going to have a break in between the two interviews. Well, it's going to be one interview at this point, but we're going to have a break. So we're going to have people call in. Hopefully, everybody, if you want to actually talk to either one of these wonderful people, you can definitely dial 470-305-1707. And you'll be able to talk to them. Again, we're live on both Mixlr and YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, please jump over to the Mixlr app. That's MIXLR. Log in there, subscribe there. If you're on Mixlr listening to us, please jump on the YouTube and do the same. Power Blendz 99. That's Power Blendz with the Z 99.8. And we'll be back. Again, I want to thank y'all for both coming in. We're going to continue talking to you. Please don't leave. You guys are on the chat. Please don't leave. We got more for you guys. And MELL is here.
And here's your opportunity to ask these people the questions that you want the answers to. So
Absolutely.
utilize this time.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break here. Power Blendz 99.8. This is a one song break. Not going to go too far. Yeah, that's good dialogue.
But you know what? I was going to say this. The transportation issues to get to those jobs. Some parents don't have transportation or don't have good transportation that could go out. But then the other problem is they have smaller children. They can't leave unattended for that span of time.
Right.
And here comes the play of the traffic.
And they're talking about
So there's so
schools,
many, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
how about the cost? My daughter, she was making like $45,000 a year. Driving to Smyrna from Stone Mountain.
Here we go.
Her whole check was going towards gas.
Gas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Y'all have
And then
experienced
the
that as well.
late fees
Yeah.
if you got kids, because that traffic will hold you back.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's a lot of factors that play into there. And
So what we got to do is
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yes.
I thought you were too.
Yeah, you vote for it.
Oh,
He said he
okay.
took
Give me a chance to-
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Show out.
Yeah, at this point, it's a dual interview.
Yes.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So you gotta know what's going on in
Now,
those
have you
areas.
been into any of the like the PTA meetings? Let them know that you're running. You just sit in.
Yes.
Because I do that. I sit in and I take notes. And I went to, it was predominantly Hispanic school. A mom actually invited me there. Come to find out, it's Cobb County. So like I said, the money's supposed to go for the whole county.
Mhm.
But this elementary school was getting treated like nothing.
Yes.
So the mother, who was a stripper, she ended up, the county still wasn't trying to get the school nothing. So she ended up going to her job, getting some Hispanic Braves players, Atlanta United players,
Mhm.
and they came and told the school, don't even worry about it. They gave the school $2 million out of their own money. And I'm sitting there like, all this black wealth we got in. Why don't
And
we
we
do
don't
the
do
same
the
thing
same.
and just be
Yes.
like, look, I got money, I got this school,
Yes,
whatever, but we
let's
don't
take
do
over
that.
this.
But are they aware of the problem to do that?
Oh, yeah, they're aware.
They're aware.
Oh,
Yeah.
they are aware.
Like, to
They just
me,
don't want to
one
deal
of the
with
issues
it.
I think is we, as a community, we put Band-Aids on problems instead of solving the problem.
That's it.
Like, it's easy for them to come in and say, okay, let me get y'all some school supplies, let me get y'all some turkeys and groceries. But
Yeah.
but they're not going, it's like, I'm a single mom. I've been a single mom my entire motherhood. But I hear a lot of people get on and they bash us for everything going on. But when you look at the Black Panthers, what did they do?
Mhm.
They became the fathers for those single moms. And they called it a situation because back then, 25% of Black homes
Mhm.
were single mom homes. So they came in and they made sure that the single moms had everything that they were supposed to have.
Yeah.
And me as a Christian, that's what the Bible says we're supposed to do anyway. Instead of talking about us, you're supposed to come in and make sure that the mothers and
Provide
the elderly or whoever have what they need.
Yeah.
But we don't do that. We blame them for, we have all these, if anybody's gay, I'm sorry, but we have all these gay people because single moms. We have all
Absolutely.
this violence,
Yeah,
single
single
mom.
moms,
The prisons are being full because of single mom. And I know what I feel it is, it's because lack of knowledge. Because even people in two parents home, they don't know things when I have to come and sit down and tell them. The information is right here on the internet, the same internet you're looking up. Let me show you the laws.
That's right.
Like right now, what you're talking about, they're putting laws in our state government to incarcerate our children.
Yes.
So they're talking about life sentences for gangs, right? So one of the things that I argue against is the definition of a gang. The definition of a gang is more than two people, not Crip, Blood, GD, Vice Lord. It's more than two people. So all those kids down at the Battery, LYNX Mall, they're terrorizing.
Mhm.
They're gonna get hit with gang charges and
Absolutely.
end up in jail. So we
You gonna bring us back, Mel?
Yeah.
Definitely want to continue that conversation. Though.
Welcome back, everybody. Social Experience on Power Blendz 99.8. So we're back in the room with Mr. Dr. Elmore Alexander and Ms. Demita Bishop. So we're going to let Ms. Bishop come on in the room and introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her.
Well, I don't have any degrees. My name is Demita Bishop, and as of right now, I'm a rideshare driver. But if you're an Uber driver, Uber pays for my school through Arizona State University online, where I'm taking political science and pre-law. So that's an opportunity that you have, and it's free. I don't have to pay a dollar of this
That's
money.
nice. That's nice.
But
I did not know that.
yeah. So that's, I've tried college several times, but being, like I told you all, I'm a single mom. And when you're a single mom or a single parent, you have to pick where your money's going. So sometimes I didn't have daycare to pay for school and work. So I had to always choose work over school. So that's why I was unable to complete college. But now I have 4 grown-ups and one teenager left in the house.
All right.
So I'm able to do more of being who I really am, and that's running for office. And getting my education in law and political science, which until 2019, I had no idea I was going to love the law like I do.
I commend you for that. I commend you for that.
Yes.
Congratulations.
If you could, just revisit what we were just talking about on the audio break about the
Answer.
No, we're not taking calls right now, bro. We're in the middle of it. There's a time for that. Power Blendz 99.8. Hello?
Yes, hello?
How can I help you? You're on Power Blendz 99.8 on the social experience with LYNX and MELL. How can I help you?
I'm just listening.
I'm sorry?
I'm just listening to the broadcast.
Oh, he says he's listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for tuning in. That's awesome. I appreciate you. Did you have a question for either Ms. Bishop or Mr. Alexander?
Not at this point, but I will later.
Okay. Can you call us back between 5:20 and
5:40.
5:40?
Okay, very well.
Okay. Thank you. Can I say something before we go back into that? I for our listeners out there, I need y'all to listen up clearly to what Miss Bishop is saying. She's a single mother. She's taking advantage of the resources because they are out there. You just have to do your homework. We perish because of lack of knowledge. And she's telling you she's got 4 grown-ups in there. She's getting ready to focus in on her thing. So if she can make it and God can help her make it, he can do the same for you. So no more excuses.
No
Let's go.
excuses. No, you are what you feel in your mind. And one of the life-changing moments for me, I know we're getting ready to get to what we were talking about, but as a rideshare driver, I had this African man get in my car and we were talking about family values. And he said in America, we don't have the family values that they have in Africa. And I don't remember the country he was from, but I said, so why are y'all all coming here? And then we were driving by, there were some people under the bridge and he pointed to them. And he said, in my country, if you're poor, your grandmama's poor, your great grandmama's poor, it's generational. Your wealth is generational. He said, but in America, those men right there can rise up at any given moment and become the president of the United States in 15, 20 years. It's up to them. And then he said, you told me that Uber pays for your school. That's unheard of in Africa. You said that I worked at UPS at the time. UPS paid my insurance. That's unheard of. He said, so you have all these opportunities to help you survive and help you be something greater than what you are. But many of you choose to believe that you're oppressed. And he said, so we come in and they give them the naturalization test, which many of us don't even know the answers to these questions. But he said, we have to learn the Constitution of the United States of America. And he says, the reason why many Americans are failing is because you don't know and you don't understand your Constitution. And we as immigrants, to take that test, we have to know it. And it made me go pull up the Constitution of the United States. And then I had to not only just pull it up, but I had to think of it like this. The same rights that I have, you have, they have. And it's just making sure we understand that and respect each other's rights and know what's legal and what's not legal, which is something big. I know before the show started, we were touching on racism. And I was telling some kids, I said, if somebody comes up to you and calls you an N-word, is that a crime? And they said, yeah. I said, no, it's freedom of speech. They can say that. I said, if you punch them in the mouth for calling you one, is it a crime? They said, no. I said, wrong. And that's why our jails are full right now. Lack of knowledge.
My question to you is, in regards to the African gentleman you was talking to, you don't think that's a bit, the grass is greener kind of thing? Like when you're looking at something, he wasn't raised here, so he doesn't know exactly what a black man goes through in this country. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So he's speaking from, bird's eye view with a sense of binoculars. Like, yeah, it looked good, but at the same time, you get a little closer. Picture might be a little bit more distorted than you think.
I didn't take it that it was like black men, so to speak. I was thinking society as a whole. And I want to say this. My parents put me out. If any of my family's listen, I have to tell this. But I grew up in a 2-parent home. My grandparents raised me, high-ranking military. When I got pregnant at 17 years old, I got kicked out the house. Okay? And here I am running for public office.
Nice.
So it's what you believe. If you let people tell you that you're not nothing and you believe it in your head, then you know how many people told me in 2024 when I ran for office that I don't belong there, and yet I'm trying again. You're not going to tell me where I don't belong.
That's right.
I determine where I don't belong.
That's right.
And I just wish that, and I know it's hard to have that type of mindset because I didn't always have this type of mindset. I had low self-esteem. I tried to take my own life in 2019, so I totally understand. But I look at it like this: if I would have taken my life, you know me, so all the things that you've seen happen wouldn't have gotten done. So.
She's done some I've watched her do some major things, make some powerful changes, help people make powerful changes in their life. Right. So, and
that's what brought me here. It's just going into, I give testimony inside different Congress rooms, federal, state, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Vermont, New York, California. And when I go into these rooms, no disrespect to anybody here, but a lot of times if you're not here, you don't understand here, or if you ain't never been here. Sometimes we as Black people, we get up here and we forget how people feel down here.
That's right.
And with everything we're fighting for Medicaid to whatever, I thank God I'm a rideshare driver, because I take people to the doctor and I hear their complaints. I hear the rich people's complaints. I hear the working class complaints. I'm working class, single parents, Black men, white men. I listen to what everybody's saying. But if you and I make it into office, we can't be pro-Black because we're also the white people's state reps, the Hispanic people's, the gay people, the uneducated, the highly educated. We have to make sure that everybody in this state called Georgia is okay from our one vote. This one vote that you and I may get to make can't just represent one group of people. But when we take, I read that oath. I read that oath of office every morning. Okay, just practicing that I'm going to get to say that one day. But we have to make sure that the welfare of the state of Georgia is good without hurting the economy of the state. And that's what people don't understand. A lot of time laws aren't getting passed, not because someone hates you because you're Black or somebody hates you because you're a woman. It's because do Georgia have the money? So I looked at their docket to see what they're doing each week. And they have a whole week, sometimes 2 weeks, just on the budget. And that's where where our laws are dying at. And because we don't know that, these politicians, they step out and they tell us what we want to hear just to get our votes. They don't tell us the truth. And we sit here in this ignorance and this hatred for each other when the truth will just set all this free.
Is that something you can see too as well?
Oh, absolutely. One of the reasons that I ran, and we talked about racism in the beginning, but no one asked me what my stance was now. As a physician, I've taken care of everybody. As a matter of fact, some people got upset because I took care of the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. And you say, well, all these things you've been through, high school, college, and all that. Why? Because I'm about life, preservation of life.
Absolutely.
And I think that everybody should have an opportunity to thrive.
Yeah, and in doing so, you might have changed his way of looking at you or people like you.
And
So
and then again, maybe I did.
yeah, well,
That was God.
Yeah, you don't
The
know.
very people you hate, now you got to be saved by that means. That was God.
That's correct.
And that was what's kind of ironic because at first I didn't know he was Grand Dragon, but I noticed on his fingers he had tattoo. It said white power, and they were jailhouse tattoos.
Right.
And then we got into a discussion. He told me what was going on, and he was actually trying to change his life a little bit. He had been an Oprah, and he was on the run, him and his wife. But I've taken care of a number of people. So the point is not what I've taken care of. It's what is my philosophy now?
Right.
Correct.
What am I trying to do now? And what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to make sure that we have some representation from people like you. Okay, I want to see you make it because I would like to work with you
Right.
to fashion some of these laws. See, everybody thinks it's your district. No, you're right. We are not just voting for the budget for our district. We're voting for the budget for our state. And what is the lifeblood of our state? What do we want it to be like? Okay. And that is why I always come and I start talking about this root cause. I don't want to talk about the symptoms. I want to know why it occurred and then how do we fix it? Some of it can be dealt with money. And other things is mobilizing people. Like you said, mobilizing their mindset, letting them know where the opportunities are. And some of it is mobilizing that community so that we begin to take care of each other again, like we did in the past. When you talked about, you mentioned earlier about one of the groups that came in and they were considered to be radical, but they were actually feeding people. Yeah. And we have to figure out a way not to have one leader. Okay, because when we have one leader that's trying to get the people together, once they get that leader, they bomb them off. But if we can get the communities to take a hold of each area, now you got leaders all over. Well, you can't kill that. That's a movement.
The issue that we have, and I know we see this, is we have like criminal justice reform is how I got my start. In criminal justice reform, we have all these organizations and nobody wants to work together because if I come over there with MELL, then they're going to think I work for MELL. If I come over there with Dino, they're going to think I work for Dino. Meanwhile, the problems that we need to address are not being solved because there's too many big eyes and little U's. So that's one of the things. Getting back to, like when I look at the Hispanic community, I wish that the Black community would get like them, like take care of each other. Work as a team. Make sure these babies, think about the generation coming up and make sure that they're strong so that our future is strong. But we don't do that. We'll watch each other crash and burn before we help each other. I mean, I'm tired of hearing light skin, dark skin. I'm tired of hearing, I'm educated, you're not. I'm tired of hearing that. Like, look at our race. Our race is filling up the graves and the prisons.
Exactly. What do you attribute it to, though?
Well, one of the things, as far as the prisons go, is the way that the language in these laws that they're writing. We're just talking about that off air. One of the things that makes me controversial is I'm highly against the gang laws. And the reason why is the way they're defined.
Mhm.
When you say, they say a gang member is a male between the age of 14 and 45 years old, wearing a color associated with a gang. So Crip, GD, what's the degree, YL,
Mhm.
you know, we all got on a gang color today. So if you're in that age group and you go break the law, you're supposed to be gang enhanced, but they're only gang enhancing Black men. And I know this because we work inside the prisons.
Yes.
I asked my white guys, I'm like, did you get a gang enhancement? Is that how you got that life sentence? And they have no clue what a gang enhancement is. So,
Right.
okay, so we have a 14th Amendment violation here.
Yeah.
Because with the 14th Amendment, you're not supposed to single out a group of people and treat them differently than you're treating everyone else.
Yes.
But we all know the Black men are getting the worst sentences and no one is getting to the bottom of that.
Yes.
So inside our prisons, most of the Black men, you have more than half of the Black men that are serving a life sentence or beyond, and they did not take a life. So they can commit armed robbery, they'll get a life sentence because armed robbery is written on the Street Gang Terrorism Act. You're supposed to get, on your first offense of armed robbery, you're supposed to get anywhere from 10 to 15 years, but Black men are getting life because they're gang enhancing them. Another definition of a gang is if you break the law with more than 2 people. So if 3 people break the law together, they're automatically going to be gang enhanced. So if that's true, then why did Ahmaud Arbery's killers not get gang enhanced? Yes, they got a life sentence, but if those were 3 Black men, they would have got multiple life sentences.
Right.
Multiple life sentences.
Yes.
So we don't sit down and we don't talk about those laws. But another thing, the people in power, the people that are already in places we're trying to get to, they don't want to, because the gang violence is bad, they don't want to be the one to speak up on it.
Yes.
I do feel like there needs to be a street gang act, but you need to look at how you wrote it. Because
Yes.
the way you're writing it, I can't keep up, she can't keep up with the people that are reaching out to us. Hey, I'm not even in a gang, and they just gave me 200 years.
Yeah.
Life plus 700 years. Who does that?
Yeah.
But when you look at the sentences that other people are getting, they're not getting that.
Yes.
So now you're piling bodies up in the prisons, and they
Yes.
see people that come in their age 13, 14. Now they're our age groups, and they're still there. So what they're doing, they're violent now.
Yes.
They're trying to kill themselves and take as many out as they can.
Yes.
And that's why we have these issues of overcrowding, extreme violence, understaffed, lack of medical care, lack of food, and all this, and no one's holding anybody accountable. So what makes me, where I'm strong at, what makes a lot of people not like me is I can't make you do what your job description doesn't says.
Yes.
But if this is your job description, I make you stand on business.
Accountable.
And that's how we were able to stop Matthew from getting that life sentence. We made we made his attorneys as well as when
If you don't mind, what's his last name?
Matthew Baker.
Okay, Baker.
Yes. So I met him in 2021, but he sat in Henry County Jail for 7 years, facing 30 charges of a death penalty. Now, me and a couple other people sat in the courtroom and we saw that they had nothing on this man. He had nothing on him, but they were trying to kill him. They're trying to give him the death penalty, not even life. So they tried to get him 2 weeks before his trial. They tried to get him to sign. His own attorneys tried to get him to sign a plea for 4 life sentences. And I had to threaten him. I said, if you take them 4 life sentences, don't you call me.
Right.
I said, I'd rather you go to court and lose than to just sign your life away. So he ends up going through a 2.5-week trial, and he beat the charges.
Nice.
He beat the charges, but we made his attorney. I pulled out the Bar Association Rules of Professional Conduct, which is what your attorney is supposed to follow. That's their oath of office. And I made him stand on it. The prosecution, the Georgia Bar Association Special Responsibilities of a Prosecution, you're going to stand on this. The Judicial Qualification Commission's responsibilities for a judge, you're going to stand on this.
Nice.
And anybody that didn't do what they're supposed to do, I'm filing complaints. I got this.
Right.
And I was trying to encourage more people, go to court. I don't care if your loved one did it. Go to court with them.
Is there exactly a title outside of being an advocate that how like if I'm in a situation like you, how can I find you? You understand what I'm saying?
I just got popular through social media. So it just started. This is how God works. That's why I believe in God so strong. Back in 2019, I was waitressing and bartending at a club. They didn't want my old butt no more. And on that day, I'm at home. I was getting old, and they said anybody 40 and up got to go. We want them young in here. So on that day, the new owners got rid of me. I'm sitting at home and I'm on social media, and some guys that I used to serve drink to had put posts up on social media. OGK, I don't know if anybody know him. OGKK, is and Shake. But they put their post on social media and wanted us to sign a petition. So I signed a petition, and then I was like, okay, I'm thinking I'm just gonna get them some money going about my business. Well, at that time, they knew that somebody in radio, in big Atlanta radio, used to come see me, and they wanted me to try to get him to tell their story, and he wouldn't do it. So they asked me to start, they would tell me what to say, and I would go on my social media and I would say it, and people from everywhere started reaching out. I mean, not just Georgia, Missouri, California, New York. And I said, well, this must be what God wants me to do. So I started going to their cities, sitting in court with them. And then eventually I started teaching myself the law.
Nice. That's amazing.
Yes,
It is
yes.
amazing. It is amazing.
Yes,
Amazing.
that's how I met her, because I was able to reach out to her. My kids, which were siblings, ended up getting a gang charge, and they had like 40 some charges, all because my sons was going to help my niece, and they labeled them as a gang, and that's what gave them the most time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, were you not hands-on in that situation?
I didn't know.
I had got her to her a little too late.
Oh.
Yes.
But she got me on another kid
Yes.
in Henry County. In this case, he shouldn't have got nothing. I'm not gonna put his business. That's for you.
Yes, Shaquan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had him in, and I want to say this: you can speak up in court, and we had him speak up.
Yes.
She called me and I said, tell him to say blah 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 blah. Give him this piece. I emailed her. She gave it to him. He
Mhm.
read it, and he did not get what they were trying to give him. Let's
Yes.
put it that way.
Right.
And he's
Nice.
currently off of parole, all of that,
Nice.
within less than 2 years.
But like I
Wonderful.
said, it's we're scared. We can bully each other, but we go into a courtroom and we're scared.
Silent.
And if I could take that fear away and say, you're a boy, if you don't speak, they're not gonna, especially got a
Yeah.
public defender, they're not gonna speak up.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely
Yes.
not. Unfortunately, we've been inbred to think that there's no justice in the justice system.
There's not.
We're going to get right back to that. What I do want you guys both to do before this little break and we take some questions, please tell everybody how you can be reached on your social media handles, however you want to do it. I want to
Yeah.
start with
The
that.
district you're running.
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. Ms. Alexander, if you don't mind.
Yes,
Dino.
I'm running for the House of Representatives. That's District 94. And my site for the election is electdralexander.com. My social media is Elmore Alexander. And I think the other one is Elmore Alexander DO.
So I'm running for Georgia State House of Representatives, District 61. And to follow me, Demita for Georgia. Demita is fair on Instagram, Demita Bishop on TikTok, Demita Bishop on Facebook. And my website should be up any day now, but it's DemitaForGeorgia as well.com.
Okay, outstanding.
Yes. Oh, that's all I have to say. But listen, guys, at 5:20, the number is 470-305-1707. Call in and talk to them, ask them the questions, get to know them, and get people to vote for them.
Yeah, now's the actual time, man. These people are very, very, very forthwith in what they believe, and they're here to help. I like what you said earlier too about it's not just about our community of people; it's about everybody within, and that's I'm blown away so far with their information. When we come back, well, we're going to take the calls, but when we come back, we're going to get into more about you. How do you make the switch from? Well, you're probably still going to practice, huh?
A little bit.
No, just a little bit.
You got some bigger things to take care of.
Yeah, we will get more into that. I definitely want to hear about more cases if you do. Actually want to address some things that are of concerns of mine, just because you guys are here, and I hope you can help me out with that. Just because it's deep, so we're gonna get to so we're gonna do that. Still a minute. Oh, wow, it's the longest minute in the history of minutes.
See, that's why I'm going to still practice. I'm coming out of the exam room, and now it's the community. That is my exam room now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm bringing a prescription for change.
Come on.
And I want to work with people like Demetria, because, like she said, not everybody down there is telling the truth.
That's right.
And so the only way to get to the truth is to slowly move some people out. And that's how you get disease out of your body.
There you go. Come on.
You don't do it
Talk
all at one
about
time. You do it a little bit at a time.
Nice.
Yes.
Yo, is that your campaign slogan? I got the prescription.
Hey, you need to make that.
Not, yeah, I heard it here first, and I want to get it.
I don't want it to be hot. I want it to be real.
Nice,
Come
nice,
on, I know that's right.
Nice, nice.
Truth.
Definitely. Again, if you're listening on the Mixler app, please jump over to the YouTube so you can watch everybody in the cast. Me, Melly. We got Dre in the back doing camera work. Always nappy red and these wonderful interviews.
Listening to those social experiences.
That minute
Blendz
kind of threw me off. Yeah, see that. Hopefully we have some people call in.
You're a bad girl.
Well, you can still talk
Yeah,
to
nah,
them.
we
This
still-
is
yeah,
live,
we
so you can
still-
shout to them about them.
They don't know how dope you are. They is
Oh,
this
no.
one.
Oh, we know.
She
We
is,
know.
yeah,
we know.
this is a beast out here.
Definitely.
That's Sister Soldier over
Yes,
there.
it is.
How long have you been thinking, considering going into politics?
You know what? It's just been about 2 months.
2 months?
Well, what happened was I was going down to the state capitol constantly, and so I've been advocating for cannabis. One of the things that's been going on, same thing with the gang violence, is cannabis. They are arresting our kids,
Yes, sir.
and they're fooling a lot of people. They're saying it's a misdemeanor,
Right.
like that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, and so there was a case that came up with a young man who was at one of the local colleges. I won't get too much information, but he was 18 years old. He got stopped on a traffic stop, and sitting on his console was a little bag that was black, but it wasn't see-through. It was opaque, and so the officer decided that looked like a bag that could have weed in it. Okay,
Look like.
and so they did an illegal search.
Mhm.
Okay, found that there was, I think, one bud in there. So it was very little in there. Okay,
Right.
there was a bud, but it was an illegal search. They didn't smell anything. There was no probable cause. And they went to the judge, and the judge went through all of this stuff. And this judge was a very fair judge. They said, wait a minute, you didn't have probable cause. So
Right.
she said, well, when we searched him, we found a little pocket scale. So now they wanted to take him to a felony. Okay,
Because it's
Yeah.
intent to distribute. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But he didn't have weight. He didn't have anything. It was just this one little bud.
Right.
So since they couldn't get a misdemeanor, now they want to give him a felony. He's an
Right.
18-year-old. He's in college, and was in one of the tougher disciplines.
Right.
So she said, no, you have to throw this out. Send him home. This was on the weekend, so it's like Friday, right? So things go very slow on the weekend.
This is still in the cab. I'm assuming.
I'm not saying where.
Okay,
Okay,
gotcha.
I'm not saying where. And so the next day, that officer didn't release that young man. Okay, and it was actually a person of color
Mm-hmm.
with a person of color.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, going to ruin this man's life, this young man's life. Found another judge to give him the misdemeanor.
Wow.
Did not release him like the judge said, kept him in jail, brought him to the court the next day. That judge was off duty. Another judge went in there, and they confronted the judge and said, well, why'd you do this? And he didn't really care about looking into what happened. All he did was listen to the officer,
Right.
and they gave this kid a misdemeanor.
Which is weird to me
Now
because
he's got a
once
blemish on his record.
the officer can do the arrest, but usually after that, that's when the prosecution. That sounds like more like the prosecutor took over, because prosecutors get overzealous like that. Like when I first started advocating, we had this kidnapping law. You would think if they said I kidnapped you, that I have you in the back of my trunk. But in Georgia, kidnapping is moving a person without their permission. So if me and you start arguing and you grab me by my shirt and you pull me 6 feet, that's kidnapping.
Right. Is it more than 2 feet or something like that?
6 feet.
6 feet. Okay.
6 feet.
Bear with me for a
So
second.
people were getting a life sentence for that.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's-
So because that prosecutor knew the law, they were looking for anything else to increase it. And that's when you said they saw the scale. Oh, now it is distribution by probable cause, because why would you, even if the weed is not there, according to them, if you have the things to distribute, then you had intention to
Paraphernalia.
distribute, or maybe you already distributed it. So that gives them probable cause to go after you.
but the
Is
initial,
according to them. I'm not saying that's
but
what
the
it
initial
is.
reason why they went for the bag first, which then brought you out of the car, which then led to the
Mhm.
frisking of you,
Mhm.
that first reason didn't give probable cause. And they tried to make it, they tried to back into it. And they said, okay, well, if you're not gonna give me this, then I want this.
This is why we gotta educate our
Yeah.
youth, not even just even people our age. Like I take advantage of them body cams. When I know you got a body cam on you, I'm speaking specifically the law, because I can go back and pull that body cam
Right.
and replay it to say, you know, so you see this baggie right here, there's nothing there. What makes you think, what was your reason for pulling me over in the first place?
Right.
What was your probable cause for pulling me over? The baggie? How did you see a baggie driving by me? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so I always take advantage of what I know they have. I know they have dash cams. I know they have they better have body cam. It's Georgia law. And if they don't, do you know the case is supposed to be?
What we have to do is we have to figure out a way to be able to give that information in a form that people will accept it.
Mhm.
You know, maybe it's going to be at one of the little trap, things that we won't talk about that too much, but they have these little trap parties and stuff.
Right.
That's an opportunity because they have a DJ, they have people there that are talking. That we might be able to say, you know what? Yeah, you can go ahead and have your party, but you got to listen to something. And we're gonna give you one little tidbit. We're gonna drop this on you. Boom. I don't know how we get it out there, but I know we got to get the message out there that we need a different approach.
I had MELL sent me somebody. Well, I guess I'll wait for her to come in, but they sent me somebody. She sent me somebody a couple of days ago. This man has been sitting in Fulton County Jail for over a year, and he has not been indicted. Another guy that she sent me has been sitting in the same
I never
jail
heard this.
for 14 months. He got indicted, but when he got his indictment, it didn't have his name anywhere, not on the heading, not in the body. So
Yeah, he's still in jail.
he's still in. Oh no! I told him what to do.
Oh, you're talking about jail.
I told him what to do.
Can I ask you, how much influence, if you guys do win, right? How much influence would you have on possibly changing or influencing some kind of change in the school curriculum? Because I believe, like what you were saying, if we were more educated as to what the laws are
Mm-hmm.
at a lower level, as opposed to getting this information in college and then majoring it, I think it should start a little earlier than that.
Yeah.
As opposed to like
Definitely.
history, like it kind of. I don't think we need history class as much as we need like some
We
way.
call it maybe civics. something.
Yeah, exactly. Is that possible though? Like when you guys?
I don't think we can directly influence that, but we can indirectly influence it, right? Because we can write bills, right? And we can get people to sign on to those bills. And then that will then can affect like the school board,
Okay.
right? Because the school board kind of comes up, Board of Regents comes up with curriculum.
Right.
So that's at a high level,
Gotcha.
right? And so what we'd have to do is try to come up with
Petition.
reasons why the Board of Regents would need to make some adjustments.
Right.
And then you would have to get people to sign off on it. And then you have to get the Senate to also sign off.
So when you're talking about like what the kids are learning in school,
The curriculum
is that-
itself,
Mhm,
right.
The curriculum, yeah.
So of course, like you said, that would not be nothing that a state rep would do.
Right.
But one thing, I'm not in any office, but what I do when someone comes to me about an issue, I go with them so that I can now know this is something that I need to keep my eyes on.
Okay.
And once you get your title, once you win, because you're state rep, Dino,
Okay.
you can now go to the superintendent, the board, whoever, and
Okay.
say, listen, because they're gonna listen now that you got that title. You
Right.
know, you can go as a doctor. Me as a rideshare driver, they be like, girl, if you don't get out my face. But you as a doctor, you have a title. If you're somebody with status, people are gonna listen to you.
Mhm.
But I have written 2 bills. I wrote them before I even signed my declaration of candidacy. And I have sat down with the Republican Party, let them know about these bills. I was told that I'm the first candidate in the history of Georgia to write a bill.
Outstanding.
And run on a bill, not a slogan. Well, I am running on a slogan too. Division stops here. But one of my bills is for housing. The other one is for to depopulate the prisons. Now, they know that this bill exists. They want the housing bill. They don't want this bill because I'm answering to a DOJ report from 2024, which the
DOJ, I'm sorry.
Department of Justice,
Okay.
the General Assembly, the Department of Corrections, they failed to solve any of the issues in this report. So I'm not saying that this bill it's put together well. I made sure of that, but I'm not sure that it'll even pass. I'm giving them a foundation. Let's start here. And you look at this bill and you see I addressed the issues. I gave definitions for the things that I want to add
Mhm.
to depopulate because we don't have enough staff. So let's go in there and let's give second chances to some of these people that you said that you rehabilitated because your your mission statement says that you're going to provide a safe housing away from society so that you can rehabilitate them. And if you're refusing to release them because they're not rehabilitated, then again, that comes back on who? The Department of Corrections. So now we have another issue. So I wrote the bill addressing all of these issues. and then I'm holding a press conference to force their hand because I know that they don't want this bill. Now, this bill will make it to the floor because you have two ways to make it to the floor. You can force their hand, or you can pay to get it to the floor. I don't have the money to pay to get it to the floor. It costs $10,000 to pay different law firms to take your bill. The what is it called? Oh my God, legal aid is going to take my housing bill. They're going to advocate for that when the news, whether I win or not, they're going to take, they like this bill. So they're going to take it and they're going to fix it, what they think needs to be fixed, make it more constitutionally sound. And they're going to push it into legislation. The criminal justice bill is so controversial. Nobody, like they want me to change a lot of the language and then they'll consider it. So I'm going to force their hand just to at least look at it.
Oh, interesting. Power Blendz 99.8. You listen to Social Experience. How can I help you?
Yes, I was calling in to ask some questions of Mr. Alexander.
Absolutely. Go ahead. He's listening.
So it's recently been really disturbing that in Atlanta, we've had some young men as young as 12 and 13 who were killed on a school night. So what can we do as a community to start at the source? Like when they are in 6th grade, talking to them and explaining to them about the consequences of being out after 12, not going to school, or getting them more involved in sports to divert their attention. What are some of the things that you think we can do as a community to divert some of these things from happening?
Okay, can you give me a little bit more about what happened there? I mean, what were the circumstances about these two? Was this during school time that this happened? I'm not familiar with the case.
Not during school time, but on a school night.
It was on a school night, and these were 12-year-olds that were out, and something happened, and both of them got killed.
Yes.
Okay.
I cannot definitely remember the case. I just remember how disturbing it was to me. I think some of them might have been an LYNX station or something. It was just really disturbing to me that they were so young and out, because I'm probably about to be 60 now, and we could not, if you weren't at a school event, you had to be in your house.
Right.
So I'm just trying to understand, what is it that we can do as a community to support parents and the kids so they understand these consequences? Not necessarily death, but we probably have some 12, 13, and 14-year-olds facing life in prison now for being involved in something terrible.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't know what the solution is for that, and I'll just be honest, because that's going to take a lot of thought, because there's a lot of factors that are involved there. When you have a 12-year-old that's out of the house, the thing that we need to know is, was there a parent at home, or was the parent working at night? And then these children are home alone by themselves. It's very tough to be able to diagnose what's going on there. One of the things I don't want to do is this. I don't want to start just all of a sudden having these curfews and having kids just picked up randomly. At the same time, I don't want them out with, committing violent acts. And so it is going to take people sitting down. So the one thing I can do is try to bring people together so we can get some ideas and something that makes sense, because a lot of times we get so reactionary that it goes completely left. And what you're doing is you're actually punishing a community when you should be trying to rehabilitate the community. And so we need to come up with some real answers. And so what I would do as a state rep, I wouldn't try to make that decision on my own. I would bring in people who know things about how you think, know things about the dynamics of the family, right? So I'm going to bring in my psychiatrist. I'm going to bring in my psychologist. I'm going to bring in my family therapist, because they know more about the family dynamics than I do. I know about my family dynamics. I know how I ran my house, but that cannot be the blueprint for how the rest of Atlanta functions. So I would have to say, and I would like to get Dimitri on this, because she's dealt with a lot of people who have had problems with the law. And I would bring in someone like her, say, look, what have you seen? What have you heard? So let's let her answer that too as well, okay?
So what?
Okay, sure.
I know exactly which we were just talking about that. The case out of LYNX State, was it Atlantic Station?
Atlantic Station.
Where these kids were like they came from this is the one we were just talking about where they had two-parent homes.
Two-parent.
And it's because the parents both had to work and they trusted that the kids are going to sit at home, but they're not. But, you know, we don't really have time to wait to try to figure this out because the government has already made a decision on how they're going to deal with this. One, depending on the age of the kid, the parent can get arrested. And I sat I have a 15-year-old and I sat her down. I said, girl, I wish you would. I wish you would get out there. She's a good kid, but just in case, I wish you would put me in a situation. I do not have a criminal background to where I'm getting arrested because you want to be stupid. But what I think for now, before what you're saying is an amazing idea, but for now we need to make sure that the parents know the consequences, because a lot of times we don't know the consequences until it becomes our consequence. So the parents need to know that right now, they need to know exactly what the curfew is, and if their kid violates this curfew, what is going to happen. Then we can sit down with the family and see what they can tell us what's going on. Well, I can't because I have to work. I'm a single mom, or I have this going on, or I have that going on. Then as a community, we need to sit down then and say, what are we going to do about this? Because we don't want parents to lose jobs because they're catching cases. We don't want children going to jail, especially not in the climate that our jails and prisons are operating now. So as a community, what can we do? I even reached out to some larger organizations and asked them about, like, my kids played sports. Now, I was blessed to be able to financially afford, as a single mom, paying for their sports, but everybody don't got it like that. So could we not get some of these kids on, is it I-9 sports, and that's what it's called, and get people to pay for that? That way they're doing something with their time instead of out in the community getting in trouble. Can we get some of these? I know my daughter did Shamia Smiles with Shamia Morton. Can we get some girls dance groups together so that they're not out doing this? Just some stuff in the community where we redirecting their attention away from getting in trouble, breaking the law, so that the parents can work and do what they got to do and then get them back home. But again, if there's not already organizations in place to do that, then you're asking the government to do that.
Right.
When the government does it, it's going to raise our taxes. And if the government doesn't want to raise our taxes, then that's going to be denied. And so what do we do? We're back to square one.
Right. Did that answer your question? Gain some clarity on that?
Yeah, exactly. I know when I was with a large employer in Atlanta that the mayor was doing the midnight basketball. I've since kind of moved away from Atlanta, but I'm on my way back. And I thought that was interesting.
It was.
And it was good because a lot of kids came to that. He had it at a lot of community centers in underserved neighborhoods, and the turnout was great. I just wonder if we could, in addition to the midnight basketball, have midnight study time and have the kids come who are having trouble with math or science and make that an interesting thing too. I really think we could go into some of these, because the community centers are very large, and start doing some of this to pull some attention, because you're in the center of the neighborhood. Kids can get there on the bus or by walking. And I just think if we put more energy towards that, it would be less than us watching the news at night and you're heartbreaking because it's someone else's child who's going to jail for life who's only 13 years old. When I see that, my mind can't compute it.
I am only as strong as the weakest link in my community. So if the weakest link in my community is on drugs, then I'm on drugs. If the weakest link in my community is a 13-year-old child without parental guidance, that's me too. And, do you ever read the comment section on these news articles when a Black kid does something and everybody comes in and it's racial, it's very racist, that's them, that's what they do. And we argue with them instead of first taking accountability, like, what, we do have a high amount of criminal activity going on in the Black community. So what can we do to minimize it and bring our community back to one? Because I don't want to see this. I would like for my 15-year-old to get married and, have a family one day, not there be a shortage of men because everybody's dead or in prison. So,
but I think a lot of those things, we definitely need to take notice of them, and we can't brush them off. But if you really look at the statistics, the white community is actually committing more of those crimes than we are. But yet ours is always magnified. But that doesn't excuse us, and it doesn't give us a pass for taking care of our own community.
There you go. And
so there's a lot of work, yes. And these kinds of ideas, I used to go to those midnight basketball places. So yeah, those are very important. But when you're talking about 12-year-olds, they shouldn't be out there with the midnight basketball either. So we have to figure out some other things to do with them.
Absolutely. Caller, I appreciate you calling in. Thank you for listening to The Social Experience. Continue listening. We're going to be on until 6:30. I appreciate you calling.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was well said. Nice.
That was a good question.
That was a great question.
Everything good? I love that smile. Yeah. Yeah. This has been interesting, man. This is very interesting. Again, I was gonna pose a question to you. I actually have a close friend. Yeah, I have a close friend that her son is being charged, trying to give him life behind the situation. I'm divulge that information to you in just a second.
He has not been convicted, right?
He hasn't been convicted yet.
I like to get in front of it, so I'm glad you're.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, thank you. Welcome back to everybody listening on the Mixler app. This is the social experience with LYNX and MELL. Everybody watching us on YouTube, we did not get any interruptions. You did experience a live call. We spoke to the caller actually posed a question to both Dr. Alexander as well as Ms. Bishop, and that was informative. Did you guys want to expound on that, or?
I think you hit it pretty good. But,
I thought so as well. I thought so as well.
You hit it pretty good.
Now I was going to pose a question to you guys. Again, with my friend's situation. So what actually happened, they were in an area of Atlanta. Two young boys, I believe they're both around 17 years old, 18 years old, somewhere in there. They were going to buy a gun. Now, they already had a gun in the car, but they were going to buy another one. The guy that they were going to purchase the gun from now robs him, but doesn't like pull a gun out or anything, just takes his money and didn't get anything in return. So they now go back to their car, and before they leave, they end up shooting at the guy with the other gun that was in the car. That did not hit the guy, but hit a 12-year-old kid. And killed him. So now they drove away. The guy that actually did the shooting was not my friend's son. He was actually the driver. The guy that did the shooting got away. Because it was my friend's son's car, they found him quickly. They're not even searching for the other guy. They're just trying to focus on him because he's the one that's caught, and now they're trying to give him life.
They're going to try to convince him to snitch, and you know how our community feels on snitching. And if he chooses not to snitch, then he is, because a child died and everyone's in an uproar. But we have this law called felony murder. With felony murder, it doesn't matter who shot the gun. Everybody's going down and everybody's going to get the same amount of time.
Wow.
Armed robbery is one of the 7 deadly sins. So is murder. So you got 2 7 deadly sins. They're going to gang enhance them. And I don't know if you guys saw the law where it's an automatic life without the possibility of parole.
Yes.
Wow.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's what's about to happen.
Right.
My suggestion to him, go in there, take it and get inside this prison, because there's nothing we can't avoid it. I always tell people, if it's already a law, it's the law and there's nothing we can do about it. But you either try to get the law changed or we have to deal with this law. And felony murder is one of the Innocent Project's biggest pet peeves, because it's why so many innocent people are in prison. Because like all of us can decide we're going to go somewhere, and I can see somebody I can't stand and start shooting, and they expect y'all to read my mind and know that I was about to do this.
Right.
And that's another one of those poorly written laws that entangles a web for everybody. But what does not play in his favor is the fact that he was trying to buy a gun. So you were.
Now, I'm not sure which one of them were.
Yeah, well, he was with him.
He was with him,
as he was doing it. So that doesn't play in his favor.
Gotcha.
The only thing that could save him is if the other guy comes up and says, "Hey, this is all on me. He didn't know." And that's not going to happen. So unfortunately, I hate to say this, but he is facing life without the possibility of parole. And at 17, they're going to charge him like an adult. But here's some good news on that. It's not going to sound like good news.
Right.
Tell his mom to make sure they convict him before he turns 18. Because if they drag this out, which is what they're going to try to do, we have the right to a fast and speedy trial. Okay. he needs to get this done and over with while he's 17, because in this nation, you cannot give a life sentence to someone under the age of 18.
Nice.
You have to give them life with parole.
Okay.
So that way, 30 years is the mandatory minimum. Now, when he gets to that 30th year, he'll be 47. He has the opportunity to come out of prison.
Right. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the best thing. That's the only advice I can give, is just to get it, tell her to get it, go ahead and get it done and over with, so that he can get life with parole. Because if they let him turn 18, it's life without parole.
Wow. Okay. I appreciate that. I'm sure she will if she's watching as well. Did you have any ideas in regards to well, I'm sorry, because you guys are not running for the same place, right?
No.
Because you're 51, you're 61.
61.
Okay.
94.
94.
Did you have any political like, you know, what Barack did when he was going for candidacy or whatever? He started using the internet and things of that nature. Do you have any like political strategies as far as that goes?
But we're doing everything. You know, a lot of what we're doing is actually trying to meet the people directly, because people have to see you, they have to touch you, they have to understand exactly what you're about, and they have to be able to ask you a question and look in your eyes and see whether or not you're sincere about what you're about. A lot of people are not very sincere. They're you know, seeking political or any type of position, you know, for sometimes even nefarious reasons. And so,
Absolutely.
So I need people to really sit down and say, okay, these are the people who are running, and you know, what's the difference? Okay. So for instance, if you look at a physician and you say, okay, what is he really about? What's his foundation? His foundation is always about trying to build something, build the human body. And so now that I'm trying to build a community, I'm about building a community. If somebody in the race is actually an attorney, you want to know if they haven't said which one they are they a prosecuting attorney, especially if they're a juvenile attorney, right? So the juvenile attorney, you want to know whether they're a prosecutor or defense. If they're a prosecutor, then what do you think is going to happen? We're trying to get the laws changed about prosecuting our youth. And so if you put a prosecutor in there, do you expect that you're going to get any difference in what you already have? And so I think people need to sit down when you start looking at who you're running against, what the issues are, and what you want for your community. You have to look at not only what they're saying, look at their background, look at what they've done.
Right.
Because people say a lot of things and they don't really mean it. You know, they're just trying to get in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And you don't know who's putting them there. You know, they can be the best looking candidate on paper, but they may be working for another faction.
Right.
So you want to take somebody who's from the neighborhood. Number one, I've been there for 35 years.
Yep.
Okay. I've raised my kids there. I don't need to stay there. I didn't need to stay there, but I love my community and I love what we're about.
Boots on the ground.
Absolutely. So,
Yes.
you know, if you look at nothing else, look at that. Look at my stick-to-itness. You know, am I the person that will show up when things get rough? I said, what proof do you have, Doc? Well, one, I kept my practice there.
Right.
Number two, I've been married for 40-something years, 43 years. I've been with my wife for 49 years.
Show
So
commitment.
what does it take? Right. It takes commitment. That's not easy.
Right.
So I'm not the guy that lies down. Ask my patients. Get online. See, what is this guy about? See, I'm an open book. Go ahead, ask him. Does he fight for you? Is he the guy that gives up? What's my medical background? You know, I'm not the guy that kind of sits back and just listens. See, I'm not renegade like you are. Right? I didn't practice just traditional medicine. I was always doing alternative medicine, which means what? I'm in the system, but I'm outside the system.
Right.
I'm a problem for the system because a lot of the things that I'm talking about takes you away from what they say the status quo is, because some of those things that we write as physicians and that we recommend aren't really going to get you better.
Okay.
I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I appreciate your honesty. I want to pose the same question to you. Any innovative, are you guys campaigning? I don't know how it works.
I am campaigning, and I do want people to know that. Are you asking like, what do I suggest for them?
No,
Or
for
what
yourself. On your
well,
political trail.
okay.
You have
So,
any innovative,
I do.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I don't have a team because I don't have that kind of money. It's just me, boots on the ground. But like I said, I'm a rideshare driver, so everything starts there. So, you know, like Medicaid expansion is something that I'm also passionate about. I know I'm well versed in criminal justice, but Medicaid expansion is another passion of mine, and I have given testimony there, so they can actually see that I fight in other realms too. Housing is a big passion of mine. Veterans are a big passion of mine. I'm not going to just get out here and tell you what you already know, and that's a lot of what I see. It makes this the midterm elections where people don't go out and vote, because you get all these people coming out and they're telling you what you already know, and then it's just like, well, I prefer to be Democrat or I prefer to be Republican, and I'm just gonna go down the ballot if I even vote. But I think that people need to understand that this election right here these are the people that directly impact your life even more. So I know when I put that I was a rideshare driver down on the Ballotpedia thing, they told me not to say that. And I said, no. I want to say that because, you know, I want them to know just how close to the people I am.
Right.
So whatever people get in my car tell me their issue is, I have a notebook in my car and I write that issue down. And if I don't know the answer, we are going to find the answer. You can go to my social media and just read the comments. My people speak up. I mean, I take a picture of me at the Capitol signing my declaration of candidacy, and it went viral. They were the one thing they said is, you deserve this because you fight for the people. That's not me saying this, that's them.
Right.
But if you want to know more about me, just look at how I'm speaking to you. I'm making sure that you understand the process, because I don't want you to think sometimes what you think is bad for you is not really bad for you. It's just because you don't understand. So I want to make sure you know what the law is, you know how the system is working, and nothing is going to change unless people like you and I get in there and we change it. Like, we can march up and down the street all we want, we can throw rocks in building all we want, but that's not going to change anything. Change happens with legislature, and that's why I decided to run for state rep, because I wanted to be right there where the laws are being made. Now, once a law is being made, then the public can come in and they can give their testimony. It's free to give testimony. You go to when the Capitol opens up in January, look at their docket. If there's something you're passionate about, you can go in there and you can say, that affects me. I'm a veteran. I need to be in there when they discuss issues with veterans. Medicaid, I'm a user of Medicaid. I need to go in there and tell them that when I had health insurance, I got this kind of treatment. But when I lost my job and now I'm on Medicaid, now they treat me like I don't even matter to them no more. Right. So you need to go in there and let them, I would say, face your oppressors. If I become a Georgia state rep, then I'm going to either be your oppressor or I'm going to be in there with your oppressors, one of the two.
Yes.
So you have the right to go in there, because we're supposed to be servants for the people, not servants for ourselves.
Exactly.
And then also pay attention to, like, if I've been in office 10 years, go see, well, what is Demita doing in there for 10 years? What is she fighting for? What does she stand for? You would be surprised of how these people are in there not taking care of you, but taking care of things that are important to them and them only, fighting for what they want more than they're fighting for the people. So I am a single mom. I have been on Medicaid. I have had great health insurance. I have had no health insurance. I have slept in my car. I have lived in an extended stay. I lived everywhere except for a mansion. I've never been married. So if that makes me a bad candidate, I'm sorry, y'all. When I was young, I was retarded a little bit. But I got my mind together. So. But, you know, like, I'm a single mom. I have 5 kids. I gave birth to 4. I legally adopted 1. I mean, I understand foster care. I took in a niece that grew up in foster care. There's not too much that y'all gonna throw at me. The only thing that I don't know is what y'all rich people go through. But teach me. Talk to me. I don't want to fight with you. I don't think people should be punished because they're wealthy. I mean, I don't feel like you should be responsible to fix the government. Like, we have stages to this. We brought up churches and nonprofits. I do. If I win, I want to go check all these nonprofits and all these churches to make sure that you are doing, because you're not paying any taxes. So you need to be doing some of the stuff you're telling us you're going to do, so it's not coming back on the government.
Yes.
Then the government can do governmental stuff and the community can do community stuff.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
So, I mean, I hope I answered the question.
Well said. No, well said.
Okay, so I have some questions from some of the people that are on the live. One of them is, what does success look like after, we're going to skip that one. We're going to go to this one. If elected, how would you ensure that the voices of everyday citizens, not just special interests, are heard under the Gold Dome?
Oh, I'm taking you in there, and I've already been doing that. I already do that. Like whatever we talking about, I'm taking you with me. You're not gonna, if you can afford to take off work, I'm gonna pick you up. Like I said, I took people in there to talk about female mortality. I took people in there to talk about Medicaid expansion, and of course the parole bill, criminal justice, housing. My track record already speaks there. I'm gonna take you with me so that you can give your testimony.
Nice.
And look your oppressors directly in their face so that they can look at the people
Mhm.
who, that, like I said, you and I will only have one vote, but these are the people who your one vote. And I guarantee you, we want to make sure that even if we don't win, our side of the argument doesn't win. I want the people to know that I tried, that my one vote is going to be powerful, but my voice is going to be powerful. They're going to hear Demita. They're going to hear me.
Yes.
And for me, I think using technology, probably the oldest guy in the room right now, but using technology, I think is going to be very important because a lot of parents, are going to be working. A lot of them are going to be working. They're not going to be able to go down to the Capitol. I was fortunate. I was able to go down over the last year and try to affect some bills that were being passed. And actually, one of them is actually sitting on the governor's desk right now. So we're hopeful that he will sign it. But using technology, having town hall meetings, being able to, and when I say technology, the town hall meetings don't have to be in person. They can actually be online.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of different ways that we can make sure people stay connected with us.
Mhm.
And then they can make sure that they hold me accountable. If I say, look, this is something I'm taking it back, and then I don't report back to you, well, then you won't put me in office next time. But you won't have to worry about that.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Our second question is, what sets you apart from other candidates in this race?
Let me go first. Okay. Yeah. What definitely sets me apart is that I have, again, it's my approach.
Mm-hmm.
It's how I look at life, how I look at when I take care of a life. The first thing I do is I know you're coming in with an issue. I know that. That's why you're coming to me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to you. Second is I'm going to try and see exactly what your approach is to your own health and disease.
Mm-hmm.
So the community is the same way. What is the approach? What are we doing so far? Are you just somebody who just complains? Or are you somebody who is really looking for a solution that we can actually sit down together and come to one? If you're just yelling and screaming at me and that kind of stuff, we're not moving the ball forward. Don't just come with me with nonsense. You have to come with me to something that one is a problem, and then we're going to try and fix it. So that's when we come up with the diagnosis. And then the diagnosis leads us to how do we approach it?
Mm-hmm.
And we can't approach it the same way we did last time.
That's
And we
correct.
can't approach it the same way we did for somebody else because everybody's different, and even different parts of our territory
Mm-hmm.
have a different personality. They have a different interest. They have a different economic system. So each part of the body of DeKalb County and Gwinnett functions together, but independently. And so we have to look at each section, see how it works, make it healthy so that the entire county, the entire district of 94
Mhm.
is healthy. And then we take that healthy part and we add it to the state healthy part. We say, okay, the rest of y'all sick because you haven't been listening. But now we're going to fix this. And now we're bringing you this part that's healthy. And then we're going to fix the rest of the state.
Mm.
Nice.
Okay. So there's a verse in the Bible that says, study to show thyself approved unto God, okay? So before I decided I wanted to run for state rep, I needed to first understand myself what a state rep is.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be representing District 61. If I win, that means I'm coming from that section. But anything I do affects the entire state of Georgia.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not running for city council. I'm not running for a smaller seat. I'm running for a state rep, meaning I'm representing District 61 inside the state capitol. Now, I will either make, vote on, or dismantle laws, and the laws have to line up with the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Georgia. If your constitutional rights are being violated, then the law will go in. If your constitutional rights are not being violated, then they will not keep this law. It will not even exist in the state. The next part of that is we need to make sure that anything that we're trying to do is not going to cripple the state of Georgia. And that part right there is where things go to die. So what sets me apart is with me understanding that I have went back and pulled laws that did not pass that I felt like they should pass. When I listened to the current politicians on both sides, they did more finger pointing, blaming each other than looking at what really happened inside that room. So what I did is I pulled the laws that went to die, and I went and researched, well, what happened here? Now, like I told y'all earlier, I can't talk about what I would do yet because I don't know this budget of the state of Georgia. But if I win, at least I have an idea. It's when we have our budget week is where these laws are going to die. So we need to figure out a way to make these laws fit in whatever Georgia has to do. One of the examples, I'm gonna say this real quick, is Medicaid expansion. What a lot of people don't know is actually happening now. The Republicans they were the loudest ones denying Medicaid expansion because of budget reasons. They were worried that if we ended up in a war, that the government will pull back some of their funding, which they just did, by the way, in housing. I'm gonna give y'all that little insider. So everybody that's getting housing assistance, it's about to be obsolete.
Wow.
But we're in war now. Now, even though they haven't pulled the states that did accept Medicaid, Georgia's one of 9 states that didn't accept Medicaid expansion. Georgia was worried that if you have a medical condition, a major medical condition, and the federal government pulls this funding while you're about to have surgery, what's going to happen? You're probably not going to survive. So they didn't want to do that. So they rather keep this piss poor Medicaid that we have now than to take that kind of a risk. And here it is 2 years later, what happened? We're in war. So now we have to figure out a way to I don't know the right word to use, but just in case, to go ahead and expand Medicaid, but have like a little backup plan in the state of Georgia, just in case the war is so long that the federal government moves that funding so that we're not losing lives. Because Medicaid, the way it stands right now, is unhealthy. It's killing people. People are dying from things they shouldn't be dying from.
Yes.
So I just wanted to use that as an example. Like I'm not going to just come out here and blame anybody for anything when I was not in the room. I don't know what happened. Now, if I was in the room, I could tell you because I was in that room. But if I was not in that room, the only thing I can do, you can pull this stuff up online. You can pull the transcripts online and read it and tell you what happened. But that's one thing that I think sets me apart. Like, I'm not going to just get out here and finger point. Let's come up with a solution as a team. I will work bipartisan. I will work across party lines. I'm not just all for one group. So,
Is state rep? I'm sorry.
Can I expand on that?
Absolutely, please.
So yeah, what's interesting is that we definitely need her in the room because she already has experience, but she has a legal background, whether she has a degree or not. The same thing is what I noticed was that we don't have any representation from primary care in the House or the Senate. And so there's no one that's speaking for us when you start talking about Medicaid and health issues. There's nobody speaking. We have one emergency room doctor and we have an anesthesiologist. We have nobody primary care, not a nurse practitioner, not a PA, not a physician, not a therapist, not a psychiatrist, nobody. So when you start talking about the health of our communities, and you need somebody to fight for that, who understands and write those bills and then fight for that and negotiate with people to get that done, you don't have anybody sitting in the seat. So that's important. The other thing that you're talking about budget cuts and things. It looks like education has been cut also by these vouchers. These vouchers are taking money from the public school system and they're moving in a different direction. And yes, some kids will be able to go to better schools, but what about the kids that are already left there?
Right.
We don't want to leave them behind, so we shouldn't be taking money from them to subsidize someone else. Now, we have to look at exactly how that's being done, but we know it has been done. And no, the effect is not going to be this year, but it's going to be in 1 or 2 years. And we're going to see the effect of that. And if we start consolidating these schools, closing these schools in DeKalb and Gwinnett, you're going to see that we are going to have a mess.
Right.
And we need to prevent that before it happens.
as a state, our education is one of the lowest in the nation, and that does not sit well with me because, like I told my children, coming up to their junior year of high school, okay, it's get a job where you can start from the bottom and work your way up, go to the military, go to college, and trade schools. We sleeping on trade schools. You can get a business. You can start your own business out of trade schools. But I just think that we need to, some of this parents need to be educated on too, because if you don't know, you don't. I have a lot of friends that come from other states or come from other countries, and they don't know what's offered in the state of Georgia. Just like if we leave and move somewhere else, we don't know what's offered in that state. But we do need to have community forums, online or in person, because you can do this online, where we're talking about what's available. When I ran in 2024, I went and got Taco Bell, Starbucks, UPS, FedEx, and representatives from those companies to say, hey, just because your parents got the money to put you through college don't mean you can't go. You can come over here and work for us, and we have earn and learn. You can work for us, and we'll pay after so much time. We'll pay your tuition. It's all on how bad you want it.
Nice.
But if they don't know that type of stuff is out there, they're coming out of their senior year thinking that they don't have any options, and they giving up before they even get started. And that's what I don't want to see.
Yeah, my school council never advised me of those opportunities. So I had no idea. I went to college, but I just thought it was a thing to do. And my mother actually had to work 2 jobs even to help me do that. So yeah, that's good information. Let me ask you guys this. I mean, state rep is obviously the first stop, but is it the last?
No, the governor is the last.
Ooh.
The governor. So from our level, it's the governor. Now, what everybody blames Donald Trump and Brian Kemp. But before it gets to Donald Trump or Brian Kemp,
Talk about it.
It got levels.
Talk
and that's
about
what
it.
You're letting these people get away with.
That's right.
And they're sitting back letting you blame the big dogs. But
While
before it gets to them, it had all these other levels. And for us, it would be state rep. We're level 1. Once it passes us, then it goes state senate. And then the governor.
I'm sorry. My question is, you're now running for state rep. Is that the last stop for you?
Oh no, my dream is U.S. House of Representatives.
This is where I'm getting at.
I'm gonna get there one day.
Okay. And what about you?
This is probably gonna be the last stop for me.
Okay.
But on this road, and I'll tell you, my vision is to probably do 2 terms. But in that time, I think that as a senior, and I'm a senior, it is my duty and obligation to bring somebody else along and get them ready for this position.
This is what I'm talking about. Good.
So I don't have the energy of a young person, of a 30-year-old, okay? Though people say, look, I don't know anybody has as much energy as you do right now, but I don't have the energy of a 30-year-old, but I have the will that exceeds all of them. That's why I'm sitting here. What I want to do is find that person that has that energy and that will allow me to mentor them, to have the will and to know where to go and not be just, I'm trying to be politically correct about this.
Oh, you feel free to speak. This is a social experience.
It's a social experience. That's right.
But we still need to be, respectful of everyone, because I don't want to say that people are undertaking that kind of thing, but I want to make sure that we stay dedicated to the mission.
Right.
Okay. And so you have to find somebody who is not going to be swayed by the flash. And that's the thing I love about this lady sitting here is that, she's in the trenches right now and she's still fighting.
That's right.
She has the energy and she has the will and she wants to go further. We need to have more young people come into this because young people will listen to other young people. Right. They're having children. As a senior, I'm going to be that sage to be there and say, you know what, when you need that wisdom, that knowledge, this is what I've gathered over the years, but I need to pass this torch on to you. But until that happens, you got me.
I like that.
And I hope that, because I'm not young either, but I hope that, win or not, I hope that every underdog out there, I've never been on drugs, but whether you was on drugs, went to prison, single mom, multiple baby daddies, deadbeat dad, whatever, know that you can rise above who you are today.
Yes.
And you can be better. Like, I was not this person. And I was looking at, how social media will send you a memory of what you did. Just 4 years ago, this memory was up and I was and I said, oh my God, you don't even sound like the same person. But you can change who you are. You can become better. You can please get involved start with your home, get involved in your house, then your neighborhood. And, you can do this. And that's one of my prayers to God every day. Like, just give me, there's a Bible verse that I read. I'm so trying not to cry. There's a Bible verse I read every single day. It's Psalm 75, verses 6-7. And it says, it's not of the changing of the seasons of the times, but it is God who will remove one and raise up another. So I'm like, God, please remove her. And put me up in there. Please let me prove myself to you.
Yes.
Keep your hand on it.
Yeah.
Before we go, I got 2 questions from the viewers. One is, what message do you want to leave with voters who are still undecided? And second, in one sentence, why should the people of District 94 and 61 vote for you?
You want me to go first? Well, the message that I want to leave to the voters is to please research me and every other candidate. Don't just be hard on me and him because we're new. Be hard on the ones that's already in office. You have a wealth of information on social media, and AI will make it even quicker. You can do a quick background. What laws how did they vote on specific laws? But this midterm election, you need to encourage more people in your community to vote, because this is the one that directly affects your life. Yes, the president and on the federal level it does, but the state and local level affects your everyday life more than anything else. Take it seriously. And the reason why I feel like everyone should, I don't even want to say I am your state rep. I belong in that room, okay? If you want somebody that's going to fight for you like they fighting for themselves, it's me, because I'm still going through what all of y'all are going through. So I don't have a choice but to speak up, because this affects me too.
Nice.
Yeah, and the reason that you should vote for me is because I'm a part of our community, have been a part of our community. I plan on leaving legacy for my children and for their children and for the other children within the community. And when I say children, it's because the children become the adults and they take over the land. And what I want to do is protect the land. I want to protect the education. I want to protect the minds. And I want to make sure that each and every one of us have an opportunity to grow and thrive. And if you want somebody who's going to fight for you, then you had better go vote. Mm-hmm. And when you pull that lever, or you put that little ticket in there and you push that button, you push for Dr. Alexander, Elmore Alexander, because I'm going to bring it home for you.
All right.
That's it. So y'all heard it from both of them. You had the opportunity to call in. Now take your time, do your research, your study, and your homework, and go and get these people in. They're willing. They're about the community. They're not about the politics. They're about the community and the change that's needed that affects your life.
Nice. Yes. Thanks everybody for watching in on the chat. Please, if you're on the YouTube channel, flip over to the Mixler app, download that, subscribe there. That's MIXLR. Type in Power Blendz with a Z, 99.8. And if you're on the Mixler app listening, please switch over to the YouTube channel. That's Power Blendz with the Z, 99.8. If you're watching, you're listening, please feel free to give us a call. 470-305-1707. Appreciate you watching and listening.
Yes. And if you wanna be on the show, reach out to one of us. We're here. We'll bring you on.
Quick commercial break. Song by DJ Nappy Red. Go ahead, bring it through, man. But we can continue talking. You guys, we still got time. We've done roughly about 19 minutes.
Okay.
What would be your first mission of action once you win? I'm saying once you win, not if you win.
Yes, one of the things I would like to do is I want to make sure that we expand the cannabis program.
Yeah.
So that a lot of seniors, a lot of veterans have severe PTSD, insomnia, and a lot of medications that we have right now are
Well, it didn't give me the option to
from what they say.
pay.
Makes them feel
I
like
missed it.
zombies.
Is it too late?
Okay. It's not allowed to go through their
You didn't
illness.
see your text
Right.
message?
It did, but now this is too late.
I wrote for 30 years. 30 years. I stood behind these medications,
I probably need to go
feeling
down
like
there. It's too late.
something was missing. And I found that there are medicines being made from that
What's
plant
that? Let me back up.
Yeah.
that allow people to move forward through their trauma.
Right.
You gotta make it available to them.
Absolutely.
You can't have veterans sitting at home and being non.
Yeah, I gotta go because I don't know my tag by heart, so I need to go get the tag number.
Okay, gotcha.
And being non-productive.
Absolutely.
So
I'm gonna walk her down to
So we're still on, right?
that.
It's not a break, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, she has an emergency.
All right, no, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, yeah, interesting, man. And that is actually funny enough. I didn't even know that was one of your aspirations there, but that's one of my questions for you. I think it should be legalized in the state of Georgia. They, like you mentioned briefly earlier, the fact that it's been decriminalized, but not exactly. Right. And it should just. Why is it different? You might bring me some clarity on this. Why is it different from state to state? Why is it legal here, not legal here, decriminalized here, legal here? Why is it like that?
That's an excellent question. Excellent question, because it's confusing to so many people.
Absolutely.
All right. What happened was in the 1900s. Okay. Oil was in the 1800s. Oil was discovered.
Okay.
Okay. And when oil was discovered, they realized that product could compete with something that was already being used in the United States. It was a staple, and that was hemp.
Yep.
And hemp, you can make clothes with it. You can make paper with it. They made, matter of fact, in 1600s, Virginia, it made it mandatory that you grow hemp because they were using it for the sails. When they were trying to come from Europe over here, the sails were more durable, made from hemp.
Major commodity.
Right. But when oil came about, now you had something that could compete with hemp, and they had to get rid of it. Then in the early 1900s, the Mexicans brought cannabis, which is the same family. Okay. They brought marijuana. I'm sorry, they brought marijuana, because cannabis is really two different plants. All right.
I didn't know.
Yeah. There's marijuana and there's hemp. And the difference is hemp has less than 0.3% THC. THC is a psychoactive component that gets you high.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So if you have more than that, okay, then it is called marijuana. And that is what the Mexicans brought. One of the things that happened, if you remember the 60s, right? There was all this free love. There was the hippies and all that. Yeah. Well, what they were using.
Yeah.
What they were using.
Yeah. We're just going back from the audio break. I got you. I'm bringing you. Thank you, and welcome back to the Social Experience with LYNX and MELL. Unfortunately, Danita Bishop had to depart, but we are currently speaking with Dr. Elmore Alexander, who was actually in the midst of, during our break, explaining to us the reason why he's such an advocate for legalizing marijuana or cannabis or hemp. If you don't mind continuing, sorry.
Yeah, so we're just going through a little bit of history, and we'll just skip forward. So what happened was they in the 60s, there was something that really kind of shook up the whole United States. And that was the hippie movement, and it was the jazz movement. Okay. And those two movements started bringing people together. But at the same time, we were fighting a very serious war, right? In the 70s, we were fighting a very serious war. And people, as they smoked this low level of THC, it opened up their minds. And when it opened up the minds, no longer were people just signing up to go to the military. They were asking questions why we should fight.
Oh, there we go.
And so the president at that time said, wait a minute, we got to do something about this. And they jumped all over it, and they made it completely illegal. And they put out a lot of propaganda, okay, where they started making people think. They called it reefer madness. They called it reefer madness.
Absolutely.
And, they started showing, Caucasian women going crazy for it, acting, wild and all that kind of thing. And they made everybody think that cannabis was this gateway drug to all these other things, when it really was, at low levels, it was opening up your mind to be able to step out of all of your traumas and realize and recognize where your traumas were and be able to deal with it. And if you got counseling for your traumas, it actually allowed you to move past it and not be locked in. At the same time, there was the oil industry that was making medications. The pharmaceutical industries got very, very strong, and they started pushing these drugs that they wanted people to be on for a lifetime. See, with cannabis medications, when you move through your trauma, you no longer need it. With a lot of these drugs, especially these, we call them SSRIs, the ones that they use for depression and anxiety, in order to get those drugs even legalized, they changed the rules as to how they would even be allowed to be used.
Mhm.
Okay, so you could have 10 studies that say that it didn't work, but if you found 2 studies
That failed.
that actually worked,
That actually worked.
that actually worked, they would pass it and say that you could use this as a medication.
Okay.
So you had 10 studies that say it didn't work,
Okay.
and they found 2 studies, and they didn't ask who sponsored it. This was such an issue that in Europe, they no longer use those drugs as first-line medications for mild to moderate depression, but we're still using it. And when you see somebody who has a trauma, something that happens to them that offsets their brain, all right? We can talk about that if you want, the endocannabinoid system. Yeah, the endocannabinoid system, when it offsets it, that cannabis will actually reset that system. Whereas these other medications, they make you feel like you don't have the depression where you won't kill yourself anymore. They allow you to feel less anxious, but you become disconnected from your families, from your jobs, from your environment. And what the patients are telling me as a physician who has written these medications is, I feel like a zombie, like I can't function. We take them off of those medications, and please do not stop those medications right away, because you will have side effects that you do not want.
Right.
It can become dangerous. So if you want to get off those medications, you have to wean off of them.
Absolutely.
Okay, you don't just stop them. Please don't do that. But when we use these medications with therapy, we see people become productive again. We see the relationships become fruitful again. And that is why I want to see cannabis now being used in a different way. But there's one caveat. We have to be careful, because one of the things that's happening in our community is when we first started looking at cannabis, it only had like 1 to 5% THC.
Right.
And back in the day when I was in college, that would get everybody in the room high. Okay. 1 to 5%.
Absolutely.
The cannabis now, because of the hybrids and what they've been doing to it, is 15 to 35% THC.
Wow.
Okay. And they have concentrates that go up to 99%. These moon rocks, that's the new crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Okay. That is not a medication. It's not anything that anybody should be taking, but people are trying to show that they can handle it. Yeah, it's going to handle you. Okay.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you, again, your specialization is neuroscience, right?
Actually, I'm a family practice physician, but I am a specialist in cannabis medication.
Wonderful. This is where my question is going. Okay. How proficient would cannabis be in healing or help healing dementia?
Okay. It will not heal dementia.
Okay.
Okay. But it can slow down the progression of it. And one of the reasons that we think that it slows down the progression is that it is neuroprotective, meaning that it actually goes in and protects the neurons. Now, I'll tell you a little story about myself. I had a head injury in 2018 from a bicycle crash that I had. And at the time, I couldn't remember anything new as far as faces. A part of my brain was still functioning very well. Any new procedures that I was doing at the time, I was doing some very specialized anti-aging procedures.
Okay.
I could learn them all day long, and I could reproduce them at any stage. But I couldn't remember who I did it on. And I couldn't remember what steps I had taken. But when I was proctored, I did everything perfectly. I could remember the procedure. So there was a part of my brain that wasn't working.
Which part was this?
Well, that is the amygdala was involved with that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And part of the pons too. So there's a lot of different, they communicate together. Okay. So what happened was I did hyperbaric treatments because I do alternative medicine. I did hyperbaric treatments, which wasn't easy. I had to get a psychiatrist to help me stay in the chamber because I started getting claustrophobia. All right.
Wow.
But the memory started coming back. But there's more than just memory. There's quickness, there's sharpness. That wasn't there.
Okay.
And so I read about cannabis, and this is how I got into the cannabis medicine. I read about cannabis, memory was coming back, but I wasn't sharp. And it said that it was neuroprotective and that it might repair some of the pathways. We call it neuroplasticity. Okay, neuroplasticity is where you can actually take a part of the brain that's injured, and if you do certain exercises that are very difficult for you, that part of the brain that's been damaged will start to get taken over by another part of the brain. It will take over those functions. And that's what we want to do to our communities. We want to rewire it, Okay, so it got rewired.
Nice.
And what happened was the cannabis brought back the speed and efficiency. It brought back. Now, this wasn't high doses. This wasn't the 35% stuff. This was very low dose cannabis. And it actually brought back and repaired those neurons so that they could fire again. And that's why I'm sitting here talking to you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's nice. Wonderful. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely answers my question. Did you have any questions?
Do you have any questions?
No, I'm glad you asked that question because dementia runs in my family. So
Yeah.
But dementia, you have to be careful too. So you want to get with a physician who knows about dementia. You know, I didn't answer your full question because certain dementias, you need more THC, more of almost what we call street value.
Okay.
THC in order to be able to deal with, especially like Alzheimer's. We don't know why, but they respond better and it actually calms them down.
Mhm.
Okay. But if they have other types of dementia, like Lewy body dementia that we're seeing a lot of, then they need more CBD. And if you give them THC, they will actually become more combative. So this is a science, people. This
Right.
is not just,
Play
know,
around with it.
yeah, and just talking to
Yeah.
your friends and talking about, you know, I gave it to grandma. No, what worked for you may not work for somebody else.
yeah.
You know, so the anxiety is treated with certain levels of THC and CBD. Dementia is treated with a different, you know, muscle spasms is treated differently. So don't think that you can just walk in and say, look, just give me this and it's going to take care of you. Some people will actually get paranoid, you know, so you have to be careful. If you want to use this as a medication, you want to get with a physician that is experienced with it so they can help you with it. And what they will do is, unlike what I did with my other medicines, I will teach you how to self-dose and you can adjust it according to what is happening with your
Right.
life at that particular time.
Right.
That is using the science. Science is not bad, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how the patient responds, obviously, too.
I respond because not everybody responds the same way, and not everybody responds to the same dosages. You take a senior, they might need 2.5 milligrams of THC. You take someone else who has a tolerance, who's been on narcotics or been on some of these other medications, they might need 10, 15, 20 milligrams.
Gotcha.
Okay. So it depends on the individual and you have to individualize that. But here's the key. Start slow, go low, and gradually move up
Right.
Yeah.
As required.
as required.
Nice. Nice. It's been a pleasure talking to both of you guys. I'm definitely running for you guys. I'm voting for you guys. How is that working? Because I'm totally out of politics. I don't know anything about politics. How can I help you guys get to where you need to be?
Well, this was a start. Most of the people I meet aren't in District 61.
Right.
If I tell somebody that is in District 61,
What city is that? I'm sorry.
so it's
Cobb County, right?
well, no, not all Cobb County. Well, most Cobb County. So it's Cumberland, and then it
Cumberland.
drops down to Austell,
Okay.
Douglas County, parts of Douglasville, parts of Lithia Spring, and parts of Mableton,
Okay.
which is weird. So it's like
It is.
here and then bloop way down here.
I
So
understand.
For me, go to electdralexander.com. We need money, people. And if you don't realize, we don't keep this money. We can't use it for like buying gasoline and those things. A lot of people don't realize what those funds go to. It's for actually getting the message out there,
Mhm.
for your phone banks, for people who are knocking on doors, for getting your signs up. You know, Dimitri needs signs. I need signs. And they're expensive now. You know, with gasoline prices going up, signs are going up. Everything goes up, so
Right.
nothing's cheap. So if you want to support us, yes, we need your vote. We need you to tell other people about us. But also, please, look into your heart. Give me one of your meals. You know, if you spend $50 on a meal, give us $50 to take care of your community.
Right.
Okay? As a matter of fact, I'll go one better. A lot of times you may have bought a meal for somebody else. Give me that $100. That'll buy us one big sign and a little one. That's all. It's not buying a lot,
Right.
but it does a lot. Because if you want us here to represent you, you got to help us to get there.
you can also help me with your service. Like if you know how to make
Yes.
signs, just make me some signs.
Yes.
And because I know money is hard for a lot of people right now. I feel so, you know, from my own financial situation, I feel guilty asking. I've had some decent donors, but if you can't afford to just give me some money, hey, make me some signs and, you know, put and tell me where you are and we'll put them where they belong.
What is the date to vote?
So the primary is May 19th. And then if we win that, then the next is November the 3rd.
Is this
Early
safe?
voting, yeah, early voting is the 27th,
Mhm.
the 27th of April. So, get your votes in.
Yes.
Go see. And like she said, we need volunteers. I'm going to be knocking on doors, going through all the neighborhoods.
Me too.
That's the only way you're going to win is you can't be lazy. You gotta
Mhm.
fight for your community, and fighting for your community
Mhm.
is fighting for your representative.
Yes.
Part.
Yes.
When are you going to be available, both of you, either of you, when are you going to be available to your district so people can actually see you and hear you? We don't have a billion followers here, so we
Yeah.
only do what we can. How can people reach out to you? Or how will you be available to people?
Well, the first thing I'm doing is on May the 8th, I'm having a press conference at Liberty Plaza to announce the 2 bills I wrote. I mean, I know a lot of people coming probably don't live in the district, but that's the most visible I'm going to be. And then from there, I'm going to do a lot of door knocking. Somebody asked me, have I gotten any endorsements? And I have not. But most of y'all don't even know who these politicians are, so I ain't tripping about it.
That's right.
So,
Yeah. So for me, I am out there. I'm going to the schools, to the school boards. I'm going to be in the churches. We are hosting all kinds of things. So if you just go to our website, elect Dr. Alexander, electdralexander.com, you'll see the things that we're doing. And if you have something that you want done, you want me to come speak on anything that's medical or anything dealing with the community, I'm there.
Wonderful. Well, we still have time here, you guys. I definitely want to thank you guys again for coming. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. Yeah, I've learned a lot. I love you guys' passion, especially, not to say I don't love your passion, but I love your passion, man. And it's rare that I see these kind of things in politics, from our people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I definitely commend you guys. I'll be rooting for you guys. I want to vote. I don't vote much. I do when I feel the need to. So I definitely will vote for you guys. I'm actually in DeKalb, so I'm definitely voting for you. And I don't think I'll be able to vote for you.
No.
But I'm definitely voting
But
for
you
you.
can tell somebody in that.
Yeah, I do have.
this was a start, so thank you for this.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, it's a start.
Yes.
And when you get up, because we can come down to the State House and
It's on May the 8th. You're more
May.
if you want to speak, come.
May.
May the 8th. Talk about anything that's passionate to you. It's going to be mostly people there wanting second chances in criminal justice reform. But if you want to talk about marijuana prisoners, that's fine too. But
Nice.
that's what the majority of the people are coming because, the death toll, I don't know if people are paying attention, but the death toll inside jails and prisons are so high right now. It needs attention, but
Yes.
it's being drowned out by the violence in the community
Mhm.
and the violence inside the prison.
Right.
So
Yes.
people don't care.
Right.
But if there's one person crying out to God for help, I'm going to scream for that one person.
Yes.
That's just how I feel.
Yes.
But
Yes.
You got to be there.
Yes.
You got to be there.
We got to get her in
we go
there.
now. I'm lucky because no one's challenging me in the primary, so I got a little bit more time to.
Yes.
So
Nice.
I already know
Good.
I ain't worried about the primary. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna
Yes.
do this, and then I'm gonna hit streets. So
Yes.
Now, is it
And I'm gonna
Democratic area or Republican?